Okay, let's do a mixture problem. Okay, one fruit punch has 35% fruit juice and the other is 80% fruit juice. How much of the 35% punch should be mixed with 10 gallons of the 80% punch to create a fruit punch that is 45% fruit juice? Okay, so anytime I do a problem like this, I set up a table. Okay, so the table is going to have a bunch of pieces to it. Okay. So what you're going to label the rows as are, and let's see, this is gallons. So you want to look at the gallons of the punch and the gallons of the fruit juice. Okay, well, we're broken down into we're taking 35% juice, we're mixing it with 80% juice, and we're ending up with a mix that is 45%. This is the mix. Okay, so let's see what it tells us in the problem. One fruit punch has 35% fruit juice. Another is 80% of fruit juice. How much of the 35%? So how much of the 35% punch? That's our variable. That's what we don't know. So the gallons of punch that we don't know is X. We know we've got 10 gallons of the 80%. Okay. Now we know the gallons of fruit juice. The fruit juice is 35% of the gallons of punch. So this is going to be 0.35x. We know the gallons of fruit juice here is 80% of the punch. So that is 0.8 times 10, which is 8. Now the total, I'm going to be mixing the 35% and the 80%, so the 45% is going to be X plus 10. That's how many total gallons. And then the gallons of fruit juice in here is 45% of that, so that is 0.45 times X plus 10. So this here, and I've added another piece of paper here so I can write big. This is going to be our equation. 0.35x plus 8 is equal to 0.45 times x plus 10. Because if I add this together, I get this. Okay, so now I just have to solve it, which I can do fairly easily. All right, so I'm going to distribute. That gives me 0.35x plus 8 is equal to 0.45x plus 4.5. Okay, this is larger than this, so if I subtract 0.35x, from both sides, that gives me a positive. You can move it to the left as well. So this is gone, and I have 8 is equal to 0.10x plus 4.5. Subtract 4.5 from both sides, and I get, oops, and that's 4.5. So that gives me 3.5 is equal to 0.10x. And when I divide by 0.10, I get that x is equal to 35. So that means 35 gallons of the 35% fruit juice punch. Okay. All right, I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm going to set it up. All right, a freight train and a passenger train leave a rail yard at the same time and travel on parallel tracks. The passenger train travels 6 miles per hour faster than the freight train. The combined distance traveled after 3 hours is 156 miles. Okay, so what is the average speed of each train? Okay, well, I can't use two variables here. I have to use one. So again, I'm going to do a table, and I'm going to use my rate times time is equal to distance. Okay, so let me set up a table here, and then we'll go to another piece of paper to actually solve it. Okay, so D, T, R. And what are we dealing with? We're dealing with a freight train and a passenger train. All right, let's see what we have. Okay, the passenger train will travel 6 miles per hour faster than the freight train. Okay, so I don't know what the rate of the freight train is, but I know that the passenger train is 6 miles faster than the freight train. So that's going to be x plus 6. Okay. The combined distance traveled after 3 hours. They leave at the same time, so that means that their time is 3 for each of them. Okay, so what do I know now? Rate times time is distance. So the distance here for the freight train is 3x. I'm having the worst pen trouble. Let's see if I can get another one. Oh, I'll just switch to different. Okay, so this is going to be 3x. Rate times time equals distance. This is going to be 3 times x plus 6. Okay, so the other thing it tells me here is that the combined distance is 156 miles. So if I add these together, that equals 156. So that's the equation that I need to solve in order to find x. So again, I'm going to do that on a separate piece of paper. So I have here that 3x plus 3 times x plus 6, this is the distance for the freight plus the distance for the passenger, is equal to 156. Okay, so now I can distribute and I get 3x plus 3x plus 18 is equal to 156. That gives me 6x plus 18 is equal to 156. Subtract 18 from both sides, and I get 6x is equal to 138. When I divide by 6, I get that x equals 23. So now let's see what the question asks. It wants to know the average speed of each train. Okay, well, I know from solving that x is 23. Whoops, and I'm sorry, you can't see that. X is 23, so x plus 6 is 23 plus 6, which is 29. So you can write it out. The freight train is 23 miles per hour, and the passenger is 29 miles per hour. Okay, Alice gets a job selling boots and is given the option of wages plus commissions or commissions only. Okay, in the first option, she would earn $33 in wages for work each day. So in the first option, $33 in wages plus $2.50 for every pair of boots sold. So for the first option, we know that she would get $33 plus $2.50 per boot. Okay. And that's what they want to know. So let's see. How many pairs of boots would she have to sell? Okay, so let's let X equal the number of pair of boots sold. Okay, so that would be 33 plus 250X. Okay, under the other option, she would earn no wages and $3.25 for every pair of boots sold. For the second option, that's going to be $3.25 for each pair of boots. Okay, so how many pairs of boots would she have to sell in one day to make the two options equal? So there's my equation. When is the first option equal to the second option? Okay, so here I'm going to subtract 250x. And I get 33 is equal to 0.75x When I divide by 0.75, I get that x is equal to 44 pair of boots. Okay, one angle of a triangle is 6 degrees more than the smallest angle. The third angle is 6 degrees less than 3 times the smallest angle. Find all three angles. Okay, there's some things that you need to do on this. Is you need to know that the sum of the angles in a triangle equals 180 degrees. Okay, so one angle of a triangle is 6 degrees more than the smallest angle. The third angle is 6 degrees less than 3 times the smallest angle. What they don't tell us anything about is the smallest angle. So I'm going to let the smallest angle equal x. Then I have that one angle is 6 degrees more than the smallest angle. So one angle is equal to x plus 6. And the third angle is 6 degrees less than 3 times the smallest. So the third angle is 6 degrees less than 3 times the smallest. So from here, I know all I have to do is the sum equals 180. So that gives me x plus 6 plus 3x minus 6 is equal to 180. So I have 1, 2, 5 x's. 6 minus 6 cancels out, equals 180. When I divide by 5, I get x is equal to 36 degrees. So the smallest angle equals 36 degrees. Okay. Then this angle is 36 plus 6, so that's 42 degrees. And the third angle is 3 times 36 minus 6, so that gives me that this angle is 102 degrees. And if you want to write it out in a sentence, the angles measure 36 degrees, 42 degrees, and 102 degrees. Okay, two angles are complementary if their sum is 90 degrees. The sum of the angles is 90 degrees. Okay, so I know I'm going to add angles, and they're going to add up to 90. One angle is 10 degrees more than 3 times its complement. Okay, so the complement, they didn't give us anything about, so we're going to call that x. Then it tells us that one angle is 10 degrees more than 3 times its complement. So the angle is 10 degrees more than 3 times the complement. So now, since the sum is 90, I just take x plus 3x plus 10, and that equals 90. Okay, so 3x plus x is 4x plus 10 is equal to 90. Subtract 10 from both sides, I get 4x is equal to 80. Divide by 4, and I get x is equal to 20. So x is 20 degrees. This angle is 3 times x, so that's 3 times 20 plus 10. So that gives me 70. So the two angles are 70 and 20. So the angles measure 20 degrees and 70 degrees. Okay, the function f of t equals negative 1.23t plus 57.2 models the percent of traffic deaths in the United States that are drunk driving, where t is the number of years since 1982. So f of t equals the percent of traffic deaths. All right, so determine the years. So if it says determine the years for which the percent of traffic deaths due to drunk driving will be less than 8%. Ah, less than. This is going to be an inequality. Okay. And f of t, this tells me that we want f of t to equal 8, and we are going to find t. Okay, so let's see. If I have this model, I want to know when negative 1.23p plus 57.2 is less than 8. I want to know when the percent of traffic deaths is less than 8. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 57.2, and that gives me negative 1.23t is less than, excuse me, negative 49.2. If I divide by negative 1.23, I always want to remember in here, I divided by a negative, so that means flip. So this becomes greater than. So I get that t is greater than 40. Okay, so it says determine the years for which traffic deaths due to drunk driving will be less than 8%. So this tells me that the years since 1982 is greater than 40. So I have to take 1982 plus 40, which gives me 2022. So if I want to write my answer here after I've done all this, so the years will be after, it doesn't include 2022, so after 2022. And I'll